Good evening, guys, and happy, what is today, Monday to all of your sunshiny faces. My goodness, guys, this is one of the most crummy Mondays, I think. I don't know if you guys can tell, sort of. I think I've got a little bit of a cold. I was telling you guys how, like, yesterday, I sort of felt like there was something sort of, like, bothering my throat a little bit. And I sort of was like, is it just, like, a dry throat? Like, you know, or, you know, then, like, later in the day, I was, like, thinking maybe it could have been allergies or something like that. But I do think that I've got some type of little cold or something like that. I was trying to figure out though, like, you know, a couple days ago where I was, like, you know, where I could have gotten it from. But then I had mentioned it yesterday to my dad, and he was like, oh yeah, I've had that since like Wednesday. Like the same sort of thing, like where it's like his throat, like he kept thinking that like his throat was dry. He actually said that for the football like team, they had a goal of selling like these like coupon booklets and stuff like that for like the season. Once kids ended up selling like a certain amount, they ended up having like a wings party. Like they got like what's it called, Wingstop wings or something like that, I don't know. So anyways, they ended up doing that on, I think, Wednesday, and my dad said that they had some left over, so the coach offered it to, like, you know, whatever coaches, you know, were there. My dad said he had some, and he sort of thought that like the burning was just sort of like from the hot, like the spicy wings, and then he realized that like no, it wasn't. And like I said too, that was what I thought yesterday too, but it like took a really long time to like develop into anything. By the end of the day, I was like, I definitely think this either has to be like, you know, it wasn't just like I was like thinking like too much into it, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, like, am I getting a sore throat? Or like, oh, is my nose, you know, like stuffed up? Am I getting a cold or something like that? And then it turns out by the next day, like, I'm completely fine. And so like, you know, again, a lot of times I think it's just allergies, and some things upset my allergies, and so that's what it is. But you know, it's sort of the same thing too. Like my dad was thinking like, oh, it must have just been the hot wings or whatever, and then it took like a really long time for him to actually notice that like he was like sort of getting sick. And like I said, I think that's sort of the same thing. But the weird thing is that like I actually don't feel like that bad. Like my nose actually has not been running, and it really does not feel stuffed up. I just have like a pressure in my face, and my throat has been bugging me just a little bit today, but it actually hasn't been that bad either. Like a lot of times if I get a sore throat, like I cannot drink or hardly eat anything. But I was actually surprised, because a lot of times it's more acidic food that seems to bother my throat. But I was able to have like tomatoes, I had applesauce, I had like a lot of very acidic foods that normally tends to make my sore throat, I feel like worse. And it didn't bother it at all, or like make it worse or anything like that. And I've had no problem, like I said, like eating or drinking or, you know, anything like that. So that's why I'm like, it's not like a bad, like I don't have like a really bad sore throat or anything like that. It's just sort of bothering me, like I said, a little bit. And like I said too, it's just more of like a congestion, but it's not in my nose. It seems like it's actually more in my ears. And that's why I was telling Jack too, because he was like, oh, well, when I got sick, Jack got sick like the first week of football practice, I think, either before the first, no, I don't think it was before the first game. I think it was right after the first football game, the first home game. He got sick. He actually said that his throat was hurting. He thought it was like from yelling during the football game, that's why his throat was hurting him so much, and he felt like he was losing his voice. And it turned out that it wasn't actually that. It was actually that he was sick. And it turned out though that he like was better within pretty much a week, but he still almost has like a little bit of a like cough sort of. And he still says his nose is sort of like stuffed up a little bit. But that's why I don't think that like what me and my dad have is the same as Jack's, because he said he had like a really bad sore throat, and I'm like, mine really is not bothering me that much, and it's more my ears that seem to be the problem. But the funny thing is that when I was actually little, I used to, every single time that I would get sick, I used to get really bad ear infections, and so it almost got to the point where I almost had to have those like tubes like put in like to help like drain my ears. And so I'm assuming that that has something to do with like sinus congestion, pressure, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But my mom would always say whenever I'd get sick, I always would get an ear infection. And so I feel like that's the same thing too. Like now as an adult, whenever I get sick, my ears always have like horrible pressure in them. Even if I don't, like I said, my nose has not like ran at all today. Like, and I've not felt like stuffed up in my nose. Like I've been able to breathe perfectly fine through my nose and everything like that. But for some reason, it's like my ears. Like I can feel the pressure like in my ears more and sort of a little bit in my face, but like I said, that's not that bad. And that's why I don't really think that my nose has been bothering me at all. But again, sort of just more a little bit, a tiny bit in my throat, and like I said too, just like the weird ear pressure sort of. But I actually, knock on wood guys, I have not gotten an ear infection for a good amount of time. It's probably been at least several years, and it's not like it was again when I was little, where every single time that I get sick with anything I wind up with an ear infection. Like I said, it's very actually rare. And honestly too, the last time I actually think I got sick when I had like strep throat, and this was again several years ago. This was before Jack was in high school. I honestly think it was probably about 6 years ago. I had strep throat, and I had like I was horribly congested, and my eyes were like beet red. I had horrible pressure in my ears, and my ears clogged up. Like it sounded like I was underwater for like several days straight. I actually think that there was vlogs that I recorded from like during that time, but I couldn't talk. I had like horrible strep throat that my voice was gone for like several days. This was also too while I was trying to coach football, and so that was like, it was impossible. But I remember I went to the doctor, and they actually said that I didn't have an ear infection, whereas I was convinced because my ears hurt so bad. But when I went, they were like, no, you just have really bad pressure. Like your whole face has horrible pressure. I just had like clogged ears, but it wasn't an ear infection. And so that's why it sounded like it was underwater for me. But they actually told me you do not have an ear infection. I was convinced that I did. So like I said, I think that even before then was probably the last time that I had ever gotten an ear infection. Like that had to have been maybe when I was in high school, maybe even before that. Like maybe when I was still little. Like I don't actually remember really the last time that I had an ear infection. So I guess that's a good thing. But like I said too, I don't like, and that's the thing, is that I don't actually feel like crummy either. Like I don't feel like tired, I don't have body aches, like I have no problem really. Like I said, I just feel like, you know, my throat is what's bugging me. And like for me too, whenever I have a sore throat, like whenever I have a sore throat, that sort of taste, it like gets in my stomach, and it makes my stomach feel very like not like I have an upset stomach, but just very sort of like, and I won't even say off, because like I said, it's not like nauseous or like I feel like sick to my stomach. It's just that like I hate the feeling of that I actually feel like I stuff my face when I'm sick, because I always want to be eating food so that I never like don't have food in my stomach. I don't know if it's like the stuff from my throat, like, you know, from like my sore throat, like if that is like causing like my stomach acid to like be bothered, or like, you know, I have too much, or like I don't know what it is. But it's like even when I eat a little bit of food, is like it's not enough. I have to continuously like be eating, otherwise my stomach feels like off. I don't know if that it all makes sense. And like I said too, it's not like I feel sick or like anything like that. It's just, it's like very like gurgly almost like it's empty. Like, but I will be completely full, and I will have just eaten a big huge meal, but it doesn't go away. Like if I stop eating, then I wind up like still feeling like that. And so I almost like when I'm sick, like I know a lot of people are like, when I'm sick I like can't eat anything. And that was the same thing too Jack said, was because his sore throat was so bad, he literally couldn't eat anything because he hated the way that the food tasted. But and just like too, because it hurts to like eat or drink anything. And I was like, it's funny because when I'm sick, I'm the exact opposite. I feel like I stuff my face and eat like 5 times as much food as normal when I am like sick than when I'm not, because I just don't like how that feeling of like my stomach feeling, like I said, like empty, or like, you know, like my stomach will be like growling, and I'll be full though, but like it's just from like, I don't know what it is. Like it has something to do with my sore throat. But like I said, it's really annoying. So like when I was like today, I was like eating like chips, crackers, like all day long. Like I had to be continuously eating something every like 10 minutes pretty much to like not like let that, you know, be bothering me or anything like that. So like I said though, it's just like when I'm sick, I actually think that I think that might help too, right? Because a lot of people, like, you know, when they're sick, they say that they don't wind up eating, or they don't have much of an appetite. And while I don't know if I have much of an appetite, it's just that I don't like that feeling of like my stomach being like, you know, like I said, whatever bothers it, that I have to eat. And so I do, but I actually feel like that helps, because then you have more strength and more, you know, like again, I put good food in my body too, so it's, you know, lots of vitamins and stuff like that, that obviously is going to help my body, you know, kick whatever it is faster. You feel worse when you're sick and you're not eating a lot of times, and so I feel like it's better when you are, you know. So that's why, again, I feel like even though I don't have much of an appetite, it, you know, again, makes me actually feel better eating food. And I really wish though that I didn't, like, it's still sort of, when you have a sore throat, it's like stuff still sort of tastes a little like off, you know. I just sort of wish that it didn't, you know. But like I said too, I was eating like tomatoes. I was eating the garden tomatoes too, like all the little cherry tomatoes. I was eating those, like all kinds of stuff. So I had applesauce too, but like I said too, I just don't like that feeling of my stomach, like, you know, like I said, whatever it is, you know, sort of bothering me when I have a sore throat. And so that's, I was like, I had to just, you know, again, continuously be stuffing my face, and so that's what I did all day. But I also got to a lot of stuff today too, which I was, again, pretty surprised about, and that's what I was saying, like, I feel pretty much fine. I actually finished my Meijer list, and we might go to Meijer tomorrow because my dad's actually supposed to be off of work. And then I also ended up editing 2 vlogs today as well. Plus I did get to some dishes, like I washed some dishes. I didn't unload and load up the dishwasher, but like I said, I ended up, actually I was surprised I got to as much as I did today, because I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna lay around all day and lay in bed, and I sort of did, but I was still able to get to a lot of computer stuff. So, but overall I feel pretty, like I said, okay. And you know, again, I felt pretty much fine today, like as far as getting to things and getting stuff done and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, I feel like I just got, like, you know, some type of little cold or something like that. And like I said too, it's like the same thing as my dad. But like the weird thing is that like I can sort of tell that I'm like talking different. Like I sound a little, like either my throat sort of sounds off, or it's like my nose is a little stuffed, even though it doesn't really feel like that. But I was like, I don't, like, I can tell that I'm talking differently. I've not been able to pick up that with my dad has not been feeling good, like, or, you know, has the same thing since like Wednesday, because I never noticed like that he was like, you know, like had a sore throat or was like stuffed up or whatever. And again, Jack still almost sounds like he has like some type of stuffed up nose or something like that, but I genuinely think that he has allergies too. So honestly, that's probably why also. But like he always, like, you know, sounds like he's got like a stuffed up nose, which is like me too, like especially in the spring too, like my allergies are really bad. And so I feel like it's the same with Jack too. But that's why, like, Jack still sort of sounds like stuffed up. My dad, I have not been able to tell at all. So when I brought that up to him yesterday, I was like, oh, it's sort of, my throat sort of feels weird. He's like, does it feel like it's dry? I was like, yeah, sort of. Like, I was like, but it doesn't really feel like I have like a sore throat. And he's like, I've had the same thing since Wednesday. He's like, I was like, but you don't even sound like stuffed up or anything like that. He told me it went away within like a couple days though, so I'm like, hopefully again by tomorrow, or, you know, like Wednesday, hopefully I will be feeling okay again. But I feel like my dad probably got it from like somewhere like work or like school or something like that, which Jack, honestly, he could have been sick with something else at the beginning, like that first week of football, where he, like I said, felt bad that Friday night and then was sick like pretty much over the weekend. And I think maybe he didn't go to school on that Monday or something like that, and then went back to school on Tuesday or something. And then he's like been fine ever since. But then I think it was then not the following Friday, but then like last Friday or something like that, he also too, again, like seemed like he got sick. So I'm almost wondering if he got then the same thing that we have, but was still sort of like recovering from whatever he had before, possibly. Because I was like, it's really weird, like you definitely should not be feeling like, you know, you're getting like sick again, like, you know, because he's like, my nose just all of a sudden feels all stuffed up and stuff like that. So like I said though, I'm just like hoping that the throat sort of thing goes away, and I'm hoping that my congestion and like stuffed up nose, runny nose, I don't get one of those, because those, between that and a sore throat, are the things that I can't stand. I can deal with the congestion and all that kind of stuff, and I can take, you know, like congestion medication for that, but it's just a sore throat. Like I can't, you know, get that to go away. My stomach all like, you know, just off is also like the #1 thing that I can't like get to go away. Everything else, for the most part, like I said, I can either just, you know, again, take a warm shower and, you know, my nose is all cleared up again, and then, you know, like I said, really whatever it is. But as far as, like I said, this throat and stomach, I cannot do anything about that, and so I just wish that that would go away quicker. So yeah, anyways though guys, it's funny too because I got sick with almost the exact same thing the exact same time last year. Like, I'm not joking, I think it was about the 4th to 5th football game last year, and it happened right at the same time because I remember that I wasn't feeling very good for one of the football games, one of the away games. I remember exactly which one it was too because it was raining that game. And so I feel like it was like right at the exact same time too, and I was like, well, that's funny, I get sick at the exact same time like every year, but I only got sick that one time last year and that was it. I hadn't gotten sick again until this year, and so I was like, that must be what it is. Just like, you know, it's that whole like everybody starts going back to school and then, you know, again, everybody's starting to spread their germs again. And so I feel like, again, I definitely think Jack ended up bringing something home or whatever it was, or possibly too like my dad, because he does work on, you know, college campus too a lot of the times. That's why like he could have ended up bringing something home too, or two because he coaches football, so he's at football games with, you know, all the high school kids and stuff like that. The same thing too. So it's just, like I said, it's funny that it happened the exact same time last year. Like, it's just like cold flu season, whatever it is. But I feel like they always say that so much later in the season, like more like almost like in the spring, and I'm like, it always seems like for me it's more in the fall that I tend to get sick. So anyways guys, I'll see you all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see you over your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.